LeBron James decided to sit down with Pat McAfee of ESPN for a no-holds-barred interview, so to speak. He addressed a bunch of things. I think one of the things that Pat McAfee asked him about was his relationship or lack thereof with Michael Jordan. And he said, me and Mike don't really have, a close relationship. He anticipates probably having a closer relationship with Jordan when he retires and when he takes off the 23 and, when the conversation ends but about, quote unquote, who's the greatest. Did that hit you a certain way? Because I have a couple of thoughts that I'm still sort of ruminating in my head right now, but I'm very curious how that hits you.
McAfee asked the question, right? Part of me is feeling like he just always chasing the validation and the support of who I would call Black Jesus in the basketball world. But it seemed a little bit thirsty to me. I don't think he needed to say it. However, I acknowledge the fact that, most NBA players will probably have a better relationship after they're retired and have a chance to kind of reflect on things. In terms of Michael Jordan, while he was playing, he never said he was the greatest player ever. He never fought that conversation. He was always saying, people that came before me were great. We can have the conversation at a later date. I wish LeBron kind of looked at it that way. And I don't know. I think it's cool that he at least wants the admiration of Jordan and he wants to have a relationship with him. Obviously, those are the two greatest basketball players, in my opinion, ever. So any kind of aftermath that can come of that, maybe we can have them do a JJ Redick type podcast one time to hear both the intricate minds of these basketball players.
I can tell you, baby, one thing that ain't gonna happen. You could get Nike to sponsor, you could get Gatorade to sponsor, you could put all the money up in the world.
They got all the same sponsors, so it would work.
No can do. Not happening. Right?
I would say the one thing, if he really wants to have a relationship with Mike, he better get on the golf course, because that's really all Mike be doing, right?
Golf course and the sticks.
Yeah,
just smoking a nice cigar. LeBron's a wine guy. Mike is a cigar guy. That's where you do it. I think you said it. It's about, part of it is chasing the validation. LeBron going out of his way and on one of those ESPN partnerships things that he did a few years ago and said in 2016 winning the NBA championship, coming back from 3-1. That's the thing I felt like made me the greatest of all time. That probably just doesn't annoy Michael Jordan. That probably annoyed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It probably annoyed Magic Johnson. It would have annoyed Wilt Chamberlain rolling over in his grave. All right? William Felton Russell rolling over in his grave, hearing that. He was still alive when LeBron said that. So I wonder if there is, and this is just projection on my part. So I'm not saying this is LeBron saying this. I'm curious about this. If LeBron is saying, I want a relationship with Michael, I hope to have one with the acknowledgement that I'm greater than him. You know what I'm saying? It's like the caveat that's there. You know what I mean?
Now that it's all said and done, let's look at my resume. Let's look at yours. Come on, man.
Yeah. You know what the funny thing is, y'all? There's a Hall of Famer between Michael Jordan and LeBron James. If I told you a guy won 2 championships, he won an MVP, he won a Defensive Player of the Year, he won the scoring title 7 or 8 times, that dude's a Hall of Famer. That's the difference between Michael Jordan and LeBron James.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't think it is particularly close, right? Everybody has their opinion. Everybody's going to plant their flag on whatever corner. You ain't changing my mind. My criteria, just in general, before we go any further, is just this. How great were you when you were at your best? That's period, point blank. Everything after that is prologue. I don't care. You can play till you're 30. You can play until you're 30 years in the league and play at this level. It's not going to change my mind. It's how great were you when you were at your absolute peak? And my argument always is this, Dan. I can't believe I'm going here. You dragged me into this. All right, you dragged me into.
We gotta blame LeBron, man. He's the one that's talking to McAfee for 75 minutes right now. Of course he's got to bring up.
Hey, I got all types of other thoughts on that one, but baby, I'm gonna wait till we are all the way off wax. Okay, I'm gonna wait till Dakota stops recording so nobody can hear it. Now, my general thing about that is this: there is the league, and then there is the game. The game is like the rules. You know what I'm saying? Like one is the rules and one is like your competition. The game that Michael played was a game for a bigger basketball player. When you have the illegal defense rules, when you had the way that players in general were bigger, this was not a smaller man's game. As far as when you go into the basket, you're actually seeing 4s and 5s and 3s who are bigger than you. And Michael Jordan at 6'6" and 215 pounds dominated a game that was built for the Patrick Ewings, the David Robinsons, the Shaquille O'Neals, with the way their legal defense was and everything else. Where Michael had an advantage, so to speak, was that expansion had occurred 4 or 5 years into his career, where you go from 23 teams to basically 30. When you add Miami, Orlando, Minnesota, and then you add Toronto, Vancouver, like that's a lot of franchises that winds up diluting talent where, you know, stars have to be dispersed, talent has to be dispersed, competition has to be dispersed in such a way that is advantageous for you, even if you have a player like Scottie Pippen on your team, right? Scottie Pippen ain't nobody else's number 2, but Michael Jordan's number 2. He would not survive in any other NBA except playing with Black Jesus himself. All right, let's be clear on that. LeBron's advantage is where the league grew underneath his feet, where it became a 3-point shooting league, right? And then later in his career, Dan, he became a better 3-point shooter. But he also played in a league where, man, free agency, and I can go and pick my teammates at every single stop. I can drain the Miami Heat of all their resources and then go to Cleveland and demand that I drain them of all of their resources and then go to LA and do the same thing, from Kevin Love to Kyrie Irving to Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Anthony Davis. Like those are the ways that he bent the game to his will, right?
He's Jay-Z. He's Jay-Z. Like he never had his own flow. He's able to transcend time, learn along the way, and continue to be great. Like he just has that ability. I don't consider Jay-Z the best rapper. I don't think you probably do either. So
it's funny. It's about somebody said like the comparison between Jay-Z and Biggie, which I guess if you're like two of the five.
I don't think Biggie's career was long enough. I love Biggie. Life After Death's one of my favorite albums ever. I think it could be the greatest rap album ever, but he just didn't have the longevity. That's like comparing him to like T-Mac and that 5-year run that he had.
Yeah, it's tough. Like like someone said, Biggie says the best stuff, but Jay-Z said it the best. You know what I mean? Like it's all subjective. It's completely all subjective. And that's where it takes me to this part of the conversation that really annoys the hell out of me. If you think the LeBron Mike conversation annoys the hell out of me, wait till you hear this one, honey. LeBron made a statement about Giannis, and he said, can you picture Giannis in the 70s? He would score 200 points on them. We act as if evolution is like linear, and we act as if, quote unquote, the skill set makes everything better. We never take into account of, man, what if those old guys had load management? What if those old guys had the benefit of watching today's players and then adding on to it? What if those old guys had the benefit of sleeping in real beds or not traveling on chartered flights or buses and slept in 5-star hotels and didn't play back-to-back nights every night of the week type of thing, and they could stretch out the regular season? Like, we never give those guys the benefit of all of the advantages that today's players have, in addition to the evolution. Like, could Giannis exist if Dr. J wasn't the creative force that he was? If Connie Hawkins wasn't the creative force, they just go look him up. You know, I know I'm speaking above everybody's head because people don't believe basketball existed until 2003. But there's ways that life has happened before you that has helped you develop your own game. And just because you are doing it different doesn't mean that you are somehow better or greater. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I think I just think that was LeBron's way of saying that Giannis could have played and dominated in any era.
Yes, fine, absolutely. Because I love Giannis. He dominated any era.
And if you look at the players that were most prominent in the 70s was like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I think he would have been a tough matchup for Giannis. He wouldn't have been getting 30, 10, and 5 against Kareem in his hay. But then you got like Bob Lanier, Wes Unseld, who was like 6'9",
Wes Unsel's a tough dude. Hey, you ask people,
he'll beat you up.
Yeah, ask people about Wes Unseld. One of them dudes. So here's the thing. You know the problem we got, and I didn't mean to cut you off, so keep that thought there. Put a pin in that. The one thing that I wish we could do was just be able to respect when people say you had to be there. Because that's the first thing we will do is invalidate somebody saying you had to be there. Man, you can't explain them numbers, blah, blah, blah. Nah, sometimes you just got to be there. Sometimes everything ain't on the basketball reference page. Sometimes everything can't be put into offensive, defensive ratings and PER and all these other fancy metrics that we've created in the time since. Sometimes you just had to be there. And Wes Unseld is you had to be there, dude, because that dude won Rookie of the Year and MVP in the same year. That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, that is tough. And like I didn't watch a lot of Wes Unseld, unfortunately, in my day.
Right.
Like, I know who he was.
Accessible. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it does speak to like, because I think so I'm trying to figure out like what era would it give Giannis the most trouble. And I feel like he would have had the most trouble in the 90s because that was like, to me, the best era of bigs consistently throughout the league that you didn't know between the physicality and the way that the game was being refereed. Like they were actually calling travels. Like Giannis's footwork, as much as it's improved over the course of time, like he'd still be traveling and walking a little bit, taking 5 steps to the lane. So I think either way, Giannis is an all-time great player. He would have gotten his no matter what the era is. I just think that for LeBron to go straight to the 70s is kind of disrespectful because it's like, yo, bro, like Giannis would be good anywhere. That doesn't mean you have to diminish. Like you're acting like the 70s were plumbers and things like 250 points a game. Like, come on, man, stop it. Whereas I think you need to just kind of acknowledge like that era existed and it was great. And that was what Giannis evolved into. Like we wouldn't have Giannis if it wasn't for those guys that came before.
I think, and to make another music analogy, I think like I was flying back from Miami, so my Spotify was on like shuffle or whatever, like playing a song and something else comes on. And something came on from Aretha Franklin. Like I'm an old school head, but something came on from Aretha.
Aretha?
Listen, I'm a child of Motown, right? So anything that can pop up or whatever, right? I've never heard a better voice in my life. Maybe you can say Whitney Houston in her prime. But if the theory of evolution holds up, I'm talking about a woman whose prime was maybe in the 60s, maybe in the 70s. And we have not produced a better singer with everything that we know today. We ain't produced nothing better, right? You can say Whitney Houston maybe is a little bit cleaner. You build Whitney in a lab. You can't build Aretha Franklin in a lab, right? And I know I'm crossing art. But the theory of evolution doesn't always mean because something is newer, it is better. But it doesn't always work like that. And I wish people would sort of give a little more respect to people who didn't have all the advantages that we have. And I say we, as in me, too. You know what I mean? Like we benefit from a lot of these things. And you talk about Giannis, and that's another point, for the 90s, when you don't have the floor spread, when you don't have to guard shooters from 35 feet, because even if the guys could shoot from deep, they were not going to be encouraged to shoot from there. They was going to have their asses pulled out, right? So getting to the lane, getting down the lane, you had to be quicker because the lanes closed quicker because guys had fewer space to actually go and close. You know what I mean? Like if you are at the free throw line extended, all you got to do is take 2 steps and you're in help, as opposed to taking 4 or 5 steps and now you're in help. That would have probably been a little bit tougher for Giannis, and maybe Giannis would have had to depend on more traditional point guard play. He'd have been more of a finisher as opposed to more of an initiator. The game, like you said, to your point, just would have looked different.